And you can imagine my daughter, she's 8, and obviously you say like, oh, we're going dinosaur, we're going searching for dinosaurs, and we
Going
already can
dinosaur
see how
hunting.
the it's like, oh, amazing. You come there, he's like, oh yeah, there's like these rocks, and in the rocks you can find these fossils, and maybe we find some. And my daughter just picks up the first rock. Papa, I found a fossil. And I was like, nah, for sure not. And I look at it. Yeah, indeed, this is the first fossil of the day. And like after
Your
10
daughter was the
seconds. Yeah.
first one to find dinosaur fossils in the Algarve. There you go.
My name is Paul Niel. I'm an explorer. I'm based in Portugal, living in Sintra, and I'm the latest guest on Portugal, the Simple Life podcast.
Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, the Simple Life. And I'm really happy to be joined here by Paul Niel. Paul, welcome to the podcast. Boa tarde.
Boa tarde. Yeah,
How are
thanks
you?
for having me. I'm good. Having
Yeah.
nice afternoon. It's great.
Paul, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about you?
Thanks. My name is Paul Niel. I'm living in Portugal since 3 years. I'm originally Austrian, but have lived for the last 20 plus years all over the world. We had the pleasure as a family to relocate to Portugal, and we're settled now in Sintra, which is a very special place, and really enjoying it here so far.
What was your first experience of Portugal? When did you first discover the country and tell us a little bit about that experience?
So the first time ever I came to Portugal was, I think now about must have been 16, 17 years ago, as
Wow.
like a city trip to Lisbon.
Okay.
And I also was once, I was living in London at the time, and also once came for a week into Porto. Both were, I kept it in memory really, really as great cities. The story with Portugal was a few years ago, we were living as a family in Asia, in Hong Kong, and we were contemplating of at one stage relocating back to Europe. And I don't know why, out of some reason, there was always Barcelona that was like one of those places to go to settle, and we even scouted it out. We spent some time there, but somehow we couldn't get fully our head around it. Didn't really link. And then, but pure coincidence, one of our neighbors said to me that they contemplating. They're Belgians, and they said like they might actually move to Portugal. And I was like, that so far wasn't really on my radar, but why? And I was curious,
Yeah.
and it's like we learn, and obviously once you then go through it, it actually makes sense. It was just like not on my radar. And as then coincidences come along, a few weekends later, I was invited on a school reunion. So my grad school, basically, some of the people organized the school reunion. Out of all places in the world where I could organize it,
Portugal.
someone picked Sintra. And
Okay.
so I said like, okay, this is twice Portugal in a very short occasion. Let's go there and check
The
it out. And it
universe is
was
telling
a
you something. Yeah.
universe is telling me something exactly. So it was a in November, yeah, of all time. So it was second half of November in Sintra. It's not the most perfect marketing time period for Portugal. It was raining the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And it was this miserable, dreary November weather that can happen here in the hills. But I somehow loved it. And subsequently, we decided as a family to check it out, to come to Portugal to try. And we arrived here in the 10th of March, 2020. We just had about time to basically find a local school for my daughter, who went there for 2 days, and then the
And
country
then,
shut down.
yeah, COVID.
So we didn't know anybody. I basically only know the way to the supermarket, and life became very simple. Like it went for all of us, a rather, I think, very interesting time periods
Yeah.
of our life. We liked it. We enjoyed it. We liked the way the people were. Of course, the weather, the climate, the safety, the way you. I think the combination was just good, and we then decided to basically relocate to Portugal.
But I mean, you've come to Portugal in March when we've just locked down, basically. I think sometimes you see the best and the worst of people in these kind of crises that happen. What were some of those things that you saw in that time where you were like, listen, this is nice. You mentioned that you met some friends. What were those things that you saw that you thought, wow, these things are really good for us as a family. This is why we want to stay.
I think it was generally the openness of people to basically. I mean, we were obviously strangers in the country,
What about for your kids? I mean, what was it about this place? How old are your children, first of all, Paul?
My daughter is 8 years old,
Okay.
and I think one of the deciding factor for us also to come to Portugal was that we felt here is a place that we can marry the longing for outdoor and for the green with a very good setup of school system. Now, obviously, what has happened over the I think as more and more expats have been drawn to the country, a very good international schooling infrastructure has been established, and especially in the area where we live, in sort
Hmm.
of the Cascais, Sintra, Lisbon triangle, there is basically an abundance of choice of all different flavors of schooling, and that has
Yeah.
been clearly a big factor for us to get easier settled.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing. And that sounds super interesting. Tell us a bit about the Explorers Club and all of that.
In a nutshell, what I'm trying to build here is the Explorers Club Portugal. It's the local chapter, the local association of an organization that exists since 125 years in the United States. It's called the
Wow.
Explorers Club,
Hmm.
and that club fosters and wants to promote scientific exploration across the world. Obviously, Portugal is a country with an extremely rich exploration history. Yeah, I mean, it's basically a country built on exploration. The national identity basically builds all around this. And I find, and there is even nowadays, fantastic explorers and people working on exploration in Portugal. So we wanted to create a base, like basically a place for this exploration to be driven forward, but for people to meet and new ideas to basically proliferate. I would never have thought how quickly things are coming together. When I arrived, I started obviously to reach out to a few people I knew in the communities, etc. But very quickly, I got connected, and it's obviously one of those attitudes I think in Portugal too. People hear of you, they find it, oh, it's an interesting deal. Why don't you contact this, and this person? Let me obviously invite this person too. And then you do something, and there's a very, as I say, there's an openness to basically collaborate.
Looking for a home in Portugal? This break in Portugal, the Simple Life podcast, is brought to you by Dylan and his team of certified realtors at Portugal Realty. Portugal Realty offers the exclusive Simple Life home buyer program. Visit portugalrealty.com today and book your free call to find out more. Welcome to the Simple Life.
So we have started to build a very interesting network around events and also expeditions that have been undertaken. We did a very interesting project in the Azores in November last year, which was our first project that were a team of 7 explorers spent a week in a lava tube on Terceira Island to simulate a lunar habitat. And this was basically a proof of concept to see if the Azores Islands could work as a testing ground for astronauts for the European Space Agency. So and to conduct scientific experiments. That was very successful and very
Wow. A lava
interesting.
tube?
Yes. So a lava tube
Yeah.
to basically is a cave that's formed by
Lava.
lava.
Yeah.
Basically, a volcano spits out lava and the lava flows, and then usually outside of the lava cools faster. And as it cools, it builds like basically a cave around it, and then the lava
Wow.
flows through, and then a cave, like a tube, is left, and that's why it's called a lava tube. And similar lava tubes, as you can find, there is actually 2 very interesting lava tubes that are open to the public in Terceira Island. And in one of those, the Gruta de Natal in Terceira, we blocked that cave off for a week from visitors and installed in it the habitat. So the 7 explorers, I was one of them, basically could live there and work. And we undertook a range of scientific experiments. It was very interesting. And I think this is exactly one of those, and success was one of those examples that I want to bring that the Explorers Club Portugal can drive forward. So here, people of different backgrounds. There were several nations involved. There was different scientists, scientific backgrounds involved to basically make a mission like that possible in
Amazing.
Portugal. We did one now just last month in the Algarve. There was a project from one of our members, Dr. Ricardo Araujo, who is a paleontologist. and he went to rock formations in the Algarve near Lule, which basically to re-explore whether there is dinosaur fossils of the early Triassic period to be found. And I mean, it was fascinating because, Algarve, we are associated with hotels, tourism, etc. And it is really, really interesting that we could find fantastic finds. And actually, on the day, we did one day where we also did a community outreach. So our members could join the expedition. They drove down to the Algarve, they joined the dig, and Ricardo was basically explaining what we're doing, how the process is. So it was a really fascinating learning experience. And you can imagine my daughter, so she's 8, and obviously you say like, oh, we're going dinosaur, we're going searching for dinosaurs. And we already see how the like, oh, amazing. You come there and he's like, oh yeah, there's like these rocks, and in the rocks you can find these fossils, and maybe we find some. And my daughter just picks up the first rock. Papa, I found a fossil. And I was like, nah, for sure not. And I look at it. Yeah, indeed, this is the first fossil of the day. Like after
your daughter
10
was the
seconds,
first one to find dinosaur fossils in the Algarve. There you go. I mean, why was it important to you to look locally? Why was it important to you to connect with people that are already doing those things?
I think for me, it made a real difference in basically connecting with the country and basically building roots, feeling that, look, that is something I contribute to, or like I help, and vice versa, I learn something. And there is obviously the risk when you come, especially in Portugal now, in this area, I would say around Cascais, Lisbon, etc.
Yeah.
There's obviously such a massive proportion of foreigners now here that you could completely avoid or ignore or live in your own bubble, if you want to do so. But I don't want. So I wanted to create something that links me with the local culture, of the local community, where you have exchange, etc. And that was extremely helpful.
Coming back to your daughter and the fossils, my son's 5. He's also crazy about dinosaurs. Have you taken her to the dino park up here on the Silver Coast?
No, I have not. Is it worthwhile?
It's cool. Yeah. And it's because it's the first place that they found dinosaur footprints, actually, was in this portion of the coastline. I actually had the guy on the podcast, his name's Octavio Matiusz. Might be a good guy for you to connect with, actually. He discovered the first dinosaur prints. And actually, when I asked him about, listen, where in Portugal were the dinosaurs, he says that, because it's easy to say where weren't they, because they were everywhere. He says it was a phenomenal, that was a fun episode, because I love dinosaurs as a kid, and it's amazing that there were dinosaurs. Yeah, it's just incredible. Tell me a little bit about having explored a bit the country, looked around a little bit. Where have been some of the other places where something surprised you, where you found something new that you weren't expecting? Anything that comes to mind?
I have to say my favorite place, like from nature perspective, needs to be the Azores. Azores are just like incredible. If Portugal is its own village, then obviously the Azores Islands are its small sub-village, which is even more closer and more.
Did you have time on São Miguel?
I had time on São Miguel. I was twice so far on São Miguel. It obviously, because it's the biggest and it gets the most influx, it feels already like more developed. I mean, it's beautiful, and we did some fantastic hiking and amazing hikes, and also went the whale watching. What I haven't yet done, but it's really high on my list. I'm looking forward to go back to the Azores to go diving.
We went many years ago to San Miguel. We actually had family that lived there, and one of the most sort of otherworldly experience was on the ocean. It was rock pools, and so there were all these volcanic rocks, but through the rocks were coming hot springs into the ocean. So you're in the seawater, you've got the waves coming in, the hot springs coming, and then it started raining. So you got the rain falling, the steam coming. It was just felt like you're on a different planet. And there must have been maybe 15 of us, and you're thinking, how is this even possible? It was just incredible. So incredible. We've got so much diversity. Paul, what's one thing that you would like people to remember and take away from our conversation?
What I always say, never stop exploring. And I know it's a little bit of a tedious phrase, but there is so many, and we just talked about it. It's Portugal. There's so many amazing things that you can explore, even outside the sense in the usual places. Even if you go up north, we talked about the Azores, so many wonderful places. So keep on exploring in this wonderful country.
Paul, a question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Come, relax, and chill it.
Exactly. Keep it simple. Yeah, I like it. Paul, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've loved this conversation.
Thank you.
And I'm going to let you call it.
It's a wrap.
So thank you once again to our guests, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We always love to hear from you. Don't forget, Portugal The Simple Life also has a magazine, so download it. It's for free. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And as we say in Portugal, sejas bem-vindo. Welcome to The Simple Life.